What's going on, everyone? This is Sheets. Welcome back, and we're going to be going over the NBA slate. We're going to take a kind of a look at the projections and just who we think the best players are going to be. And then, as usual, we're going to do kind of a sample build to kind of show how to use SaberSim to figure all this stuff out. Hope everybody had a good weekend. So I want to pull my projections up, which I just did. And then we're going to share my screen. We're going to look at the slate, just get a quick look at it. Okay. All right, let me share my screen for a sec. Okay. First thing to look at is the kind of the breakdown of the slate. So we have 2 games at 7 o'clock, 1 at 7:30, 2 at 8 p.m., 1 8:30, and 1 9. So it's a pretty manageable slate with respect to how long it takes. And there are a couple of spots to do some late swapping. Let's look at some questionables before we get into the actual projections. Trae Young, probable, so that's nothing. Sabonis out. I mean, this is all we do already. Sengun, as usual, questionable. Miles Bridges, probable. That's not a big deal. Okay, so Morant is questionable. That's relevant. Now we have 5 Rockets listed questionables on the first half of a back-to-back. All right, so that is going to be definitely something that we look at. Let's take a look at the Rockets real quick before we get in there. Yeah, I mean, look at all this. Sengun, Thompson, Eason, Dylan Brooks, and Steven Adams. And notably, that game does not start until 8 o'clock. So we're going to have to either hope for some good news or some news early, or we're going to be in for a pretty nasty evening because we're going to have to wait for maybe 3 games to go off before we can really decide what's going to go on with the Rockets, etc. Hey, what's up, Beyond the Rabbit Hole? Okay, so that's like an overall look at the slate. Now we're going to get into one at a time, but when you look at the values, there are 2 values that I have, at least right now, that are 6x or higher, which means it's kind of an okay value slate. And the thing is, again, is with these Rockets, they might show up a little later. The other thing that's interesting is that there's not a lot of spend-ups. In other words, when I sort everything just even by projections, I mean, Cade Cunningham is the top projected scorer at only 52 points. So it's not as if there are these big spend-ups you need to obtain. So the absence of a lot of value is not that big of a deal. Okay. Let's, I guess, go game by game and see what kind of stands out here. Golden State, Charlotte, like the top guy, now I'm going to rate these a couple of different ways just to try to get as many plays as we can off of this. I guess my top play overall from this Golden State side is going to be Draymond. Unfortunately, there's there's better plays in the center position, which we're going to get to. So I don't know if Draymond is going to fit the bill. What else here? As far as value goes, I'm not really getting much of anything on either side here. With respect to just pure fantasy points, I mean, you have to go down the list here, maybe to Steph Curry. So I think that this game is not particularly important. So good info there. I say that all 5 Rockets are present at shoot-arounds. That is, well, let's put it this way. It's more indicative of them playing than if they were not a shoot-around. Let's see if any of them get an upgrade from questionable to probable or anything like that. And again, 100 hours before post time, so you have plenty of time to deal with that. But this first 7 o'clock game, I don't think is particularly relevant, honestly. You want to play Curry, you want to play Draymond. I just think that Draymond, you're going to be costing yourself one of these good center positions you're going to get to. We'll leave Curry in for now, but that's pretty much it. And I'm not really getting anything from the Charlotte side. All right, Portland against Philly. Again, I first think of it from I first look at the value, and then I just get into this pure upside plays. I mean, the pure fantasy point plays. Value, I guess the top one from Portland is going to be kind of an okay Demi Avdija. And he probably has a decent fantasy point projection raw as well. So this is actually not bad to put Demi Avdija in. So let's consider him a pretty good play here. Philadelphia, I mean, again, value, not a lot. I mean, if anything, maybe a very fishy Kelly Oubre play, perhaps. What is he nowadays as far as position goes? Well, you could put him at small forward, which helps. So I guess that's all right. When it comes to just pure fantasy points, Tyrese Maxey would be the best in this game, and then Paul George. Like, I wouldn't be getting much of anything from Portland except for Avdija. Avdija looks like a very, very strong play here, both value-wise and just on pure fantasy points. Paul George himself looks to be questionable. So, and also it's a new injury, and it's DraftKings saying on the first end of a back-to-back. So if he's out, then actually, among other people, Tyrese Maxey would become a pretty good play. I mean, he's already not bad, Tyrese Maxey. But if without Paul George in, I mean, decent amount of usage would be going to him. So far, I mean, nothing particularly incredible. Let's go ahead to Washington, Miami. I guess you could say Justin Champagne or Champagne or whatever at 3,600 is okay on the Washington side, but it's not even in the top 10 as far as value goes. We're going to get to those in a little bit. How about Miami values? If you want, you could take a shot at Alec Burks again. I think that people tried this yesterday, and did it fail? No. I mean, what's wrong with this? I mean, listen, if you get 21 and 25 minutes out of this guy, this is good, right? So, yeah. I mean, at that price, you could play him. But again, I don't know if this is the slate where you're going to need those types of punts. So we'll remind ourselves about this later. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have to play him at all. As far as just fantasy points, and I'm like kind of sorting by my sheet's value score here for that. Tyler Hero actually looks pretty decent, as does Bam. Let's take a look at these prices, by the way. So Tyler Hero at 8,800, he looks pretty good. We might run out of guards soon, but I think he's probably a better play than Curry. And then maybe Bam, but again, Bam, we have the issue of being a center. No, that's not true actually. So Bam, I didn't even know when this happened, but Bam is power forward eligible. So that makes him, much better player than he ever was. And Cattell Ware is still decent, but I think Bam, Hero, they're pretty decent. And then you play Champagne. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, who else am I going to play from Washington? I'm not really getting to kind of any of the top guys, so it's not really a game stack or anything like that. Oh, the $5 Jimmy? Yeah, it's not bad at all, is it? All right, Atlanta, Memphis. As I mentioned earlier, John Morant is questionable, and that's obviously going to be a really big thing. In the absence of that, one of the two center plays that I alluded to are in this game, and that would be Okongwu from Atlanta. He looks very, very good at 6,100. I have him as actually one of two players who is 6x or higher, and both are at the center position. And Okongwu, as I mentioned just before, is one of them. In addition to that, you're getting a little bit of value, I think, out of a couple of other Atlanta guys. So you have Karis LeVert looks pretty good, and what's his name, Risache, wherever he went. Zach, I think, is that what it is? Risache. He looks pretty good as well. He hasn't really been tearing it up, but you're going to get 26 to 30 minutes out of this guy. 4,500 is probably worth it. It's going to be very, very, I imagine, a very high-paced matchup. So Okongwu and Risache from Atlanta. From Memphis, again, the usual, center. Zach Edey's going to look good, but compared to the other centers, he's not going to look great. And then we just have to watch to see the Morant news. I mean, if he's going to be out, then you'll get your usual suspects. You get Desmond Bane showing up as a really good play. Maybe even Scottie Pippen Jr. I mean, depending who starts and all that stuff. So you have to watch for that. All right. So as I mentioned, OKC and Houston is just something we're going to have to watch for. Like right now, I had these guys all as in. And as a result, I'm not really getting to too much, right? But once one of these guys are out, then there's going to be stuff that happens. So I'm going to hold off on the OKC Houston analysis for a while. We just have to wait and see what's up. Let me see. I will also say, by the way, that if Morant plays, I think he's probably a decent tournament play, as would be Jaren Jackson. If you want to get into playing like a bunch of guys in this game, I think that's okay. You can play Trae Young from Atlanta. So you want to play like Trae Young, Risache, Okongwu, and then you play Jaren Jackson and Morant, like, for example. I mean, I think that's, it's definitely a way to play from that Atlanta game. All right, so what else from OKC Houston? I'm not really seeing such a great projection for Shea, actually. So I don't see too much to even think about right now from this game. All right, so Sacramento, Dallas, we have actually the top point per dollar play on the slate right now. And no surprise that with Sabonis out, Jonas Valanciunas, if he's got 30 minutes in him, I mean, you can even see from his last game. I mean, this is the type of thing that he can do if he gets the minutes. So Valanciunas at 5,400 is extraordinarily strong. On the other side of this game, you actually have a pretty good value piece in Najee Marshall. Small forward and power forward eligible. Again, 30 minutes plus in his last two games. Hasn't exactly torn the cover off the ball, but he's projecting pretty well. So you have Valanciunas, Najee Marshall, both from the same game. Kyrie Irving, 9,500. Seems like a lot, but he's been first. He was my hero a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, again, the usual Kyrie Irving. Sometimes put the 35 ball, then they'll do the 60, 50, 40. But I think it's reasonable. Let's put it that way. So I think Kyrie, Marshall for Dallas, and then, as I mentioned, Valanciunas for Sacramento. And now we get to the last game, and we have Detroit against Utah, and we have really all kinds of Detroit value here. So Malik, let's just want to clear this for right now. Let's just pull up the Detroit guys. I mean, all these guys look really, really good from a point per dollar perspective. Nobody's like 6x, but they're all pretty close. So Malik Beasley at 5K looks pretty good. You have Asara Thompson, 5,300. He looks good. You have Dennis Schroeder at, what is he nowadays? 4,200. He looks good. So all those guys look pretty good for Detroit. I'm not really getting to too much on Utah, if anything, actually. The other thing I'm getting on Detroit is Cade. I mean, Cade Cunningham is the top projected scorer on the slate. I mean, that's got to be worth something. So the problem is there's not a lot to do on the Utah side, but who cares? I mean, I think that Detroit, good value. You get a couple of those Atlanta guys maybe. And we have to wait for the Houston news to make that all work. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a sample build to see what it would look like. And it just goes over again the process of how you build using SaberSim. So first thing that I did was I uploaded, well, just pretend I didn't for a second. So let's just do this now. So you go into contest, and the first thing you want to do is you want to upload your entry file. You build your dummy lineups in DraftKings. You save them somewhere. Well, you can save them on DraftKings, and then it'll automatically find them for you and upload this to your contest field, to the entry editor, so that so that you can do your contest sims appropriately, because now it knows what you're in and how many entries and stuff. So you see, like, all these are all dummy lineups. This is just what I reserve. So what we can do is we can build them now. So we're going to pretend that we're 10 minutes till post time here. And the first thing you have to decide is what projection you use, right? So you can either use the SaberSim projections, you can use mine, you can use Goldie's, you can use your own. If you're within the TrueDFS SaberSim, which what I'm looking for, template, I guess, or view, you could average them if that helps you. Just whatever projection set you put in here, and you put your ownership in. I am going to replace it with my own for now. And again, this is very, very stale as far as this. I would make sure to click exclude unlisted players. This way, you don't let SaberSim slip some guy in that might not be playing if the rest of your projections might not have him, or might have him in. So you could also click this automatically create custom fields from ownerships. And what that'll do is it'll create a contest field based on the ownerships you put in, to give yourself the option to choose from something different when you're running your sims. So, I mean, just the hell of it. I mean, let's go ahead and do this. Now, if you want to hit apply to all slates, that will save these in case you want to play the night slate or something like that, and you want to use the same projections. So we're going to hit save, and you got to save this as a new source. I'm just going to call it Sheets, stream, I guess. And we'll hit save. And what this is going to do, it's going to build this field lineup here. And it's going to build this field based on the ownerships that I put in to some degree. And SaberSim is going to do its best to create a field to compare lineups to. But it's going to do it based on what I've put in as opposed to what they've put in. And that's obviously going to be an important decision we're going to get to, is whose field do we use when we run our sims. Well, we'll deal with that in a second. Let's first run the lineup. So let's build 5,000 lineups. Don't make any changes aside from the fact that we changed all the projections, right, and the ownership projections. But we're not going to make any groups. We're not going to make any rules. We'll start with just building 5,000 lineups that SaberSim believes have enough upside to be considered. And then we're going to run contest sims to figure out which of those 5,000 lineups go best in which contest that we're in, whichever contest that we're in. So you'll see, by the way, under field lineups, this number 1, it has the sheet stream. It has has a field that I created, if I feel like using that in the contest sims. All right, so we built 5,000 lineups, and again, if we wanted to put these in right here, without simming, then you're using this Sabre score, which is you're sorting lineups by the Sabre score, which if you clicked on this eyeball, it would go into some more detail with all this. It's the 95th percentile outcome of the lineup. We're digging it for average ownership. Okay, so that'll show you what you're actually looking at when you're ranking these lineups. What we're going to do is we're going to run the contest. And before we do that, just for the hell, let's just see what we would have gotten if we put it in here. So we would be getting, as I, not surprised, these are all the guys I mentioned, right? Valanciunas and Al-Kongwu, the two best point per dollar plays on the slate, we'd be getting the most of them. And then these value pieces that I kind of rattled off as we went through. Holmgren I didn't get to. I forgot about him. I didn't see him, so that's interesting. What we're going to do is we're going to hit contest sim. So the question is, run contest sim. Which fields are we going to want to use? Are we going to use the fields that SaberSim has picked out for us already, given the contest that we're in? Or just for funsies, do we want to pick out, our own field? And I would suggest that unless you were really confident in your ownership projections, that you would use the SaberSim contest fields. I've had a lot more luck with just using the SaberSim contest fields, by the way, for NBA. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to use the regular ones. And then we're just going to come back and hit run contests. In a second. Okay, run contests. So again, for those of you who are not well versed in this, what it's doing is it's taking these 5,000 lineups and simulating them against the 5 contests that we're in, given who we believe the other folks are going to be playing in that contest. And then it's going to rank our lineups based on how they perform against that set on a return on investment basis. So it's now done that, and just for fun, let's see how the ownership may have changed. So once you apply the contest sims, now it's actually Holmgren who is the most exposed, 89%, and ahead of even Valanciunas and Okongwu. Okay. So the next thing that you probably want to do is especially because I'm playing that $5 150, I want to be a little more diverse. I have 150 lineups, so I want to make sure that they don't look too much the same. So let's increase our min uniques, and the metric I'm going to look at here is just average projection. I'm going to go from min uniques 1 to min uniques 2 to min uniques 3 to min uniques 4, and going to keep doing that so long as the average projection does not get dinged all too much. So like you go to min uniques 2, and it went from 270.3 to 270.1, not a big deal. So now you go to min uniques 3, and then it goes from 270 down to 268. So we might be done. Let's see what from 3 to 4 goes, just for the hell of it. It only goes down 2. So let's just see if we can even get away with going to min uniques 5. No, see that was too much. So where we're going to rely on to go to min uniques 4. And then what we could do is just kind of directly fill these contests into these lineups into the contests that are best suited for them. You could decide, if you want, to not put the same lineup in multiple contests, in which case you would do direct fill. I mean, autofill. The way that works, you want to rank these contests in priority of where you want the best lineups to go if they were going to show up in multiple contests anyway. So let's just say that you prefer to rank these by fee. So it's more important that if there's a lineup that's going to show up in multiple contests, that it would show up in the one that is, has the biggest cost to enter. So I think that's pretty reasonable. So what we'll do is we will hit save the contest, and you'll see the source when you hit save the contest. It automatically went to these, and it saved these to the contest. And then we're just going to hit download the entry file. And up we go. Okay. Let's do the same thing for FanDuel. I mean, even though I didn't do my, I think I might have done them actually. No, I didn't put up my projections yet. We'll do the same process, and here we're going to start right from the beginning. So like here, I didn't even put my dummy lineups up here yet. So let's go. Let's download all my lineups from FanDuel. I saved the dummy lineups, but so now we have one more step on FanDuel. You actually have to create your own file first. Then up we go. And same thing, we'll go into here, and we're just going to build 5,000 lineups. The other thing to note, by the way, is that the slate is the same for FanDuel. Sometimes FanDuel has a couple late games that are not on DraftKings, but not today. So what we're going to look at here is, number one, where the difference is between FanDuel and DraftKings as far as who's showing up. And then we're also just going to get another look at how to construct these. So 5,000 lineups being built, no problem. And again, let's just see first before we apply the sims where our exposures would be. It would look like we'd be getting Najee Marshall would be the top owned, and then Trae Young and Ja would be getting bigger boosts here, which is interesting. So same thing. We're going to run the contest sims, and we're just going to use the Saber Sim stock fields for our contest, which are the monster and that whatever that 150 max lottery is. Okay, so we ran the contest sims, but again, what I want to do is do this min uniques thing. Go from min uniques 1 to min uniques 2. See what happens to the average projection. Really nothing, actually. Here, min uniques 2 to min uniques 3. Went down only a point. No big deal. And then go to min uniques 4. It's down about 2 points. So I might wimp out and go back to 3. But let's just see. Here from 300 down to 297. So let's stick with 4. And again, this is art, not science. And again, same thing. We'll go into autofill, and we'll do trading monster. I don't even know what that means. So we'll save these to the contest this way. First filling the monster, then filling this, the shot. And we'll upload those. And again, why am I doing this if these are not going to be my lineups necessarily? Because again, it's reps, and the more practice you get with banging around these programs, the better you're going to be at them, and the faster you're going to be at them. So that if news comes out, you could run lineups really quickly. I guess if there are no other questions, that's really all I have. So I'm going to be back at 6 with updated projections. Thank you very much, Robert. It's you get older, it's just more variance. What can I say? So I'm dealing with that right now. Nonetheless, I should be back at 6 to do this again with the updated projections, and I'm gonna do the same thing I always do. I'm gonna rebuild everything live, show what I do, and hope to continue to run hot. And that's always the most important thing. All right, that's going to do it.